And we just came out of the Captain America, the first Avenger. So, what did you think about it, Chris?
I thought it was great. I thought it was worthwhile. Best movie since Jumanji, Joe Johnston.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Definitely, out of all the superhero movies that came out this year, I have to say that I think Captain America was the best out of them. You know, I think it was better than Thor, better than pretty well done. The action really wasn't great, and it was actually a pretty good story.
I agree. There was a lot of depth to this. There was just more dynamic. Just like there wasn't so much. It wasn't just specifically just an entertaining film. You know, it was actually out there so that people could actually find a story. And the story was clear. There was reasons for everything.
Like
why he gets things, and why the character transforms this and what he feels. So that's one of the things I found. They made it believable.
Yeah, like even some of the silly stuff from Captain America's history, they poked fun at, and it was pretty good.
And the seriousness in Hugo Weaving's performance, I don't think you would have believed him as much as if you saw his face right out the bat. You wouldn't believe his character until when he probably half of the film where he finally pulled off his face.
Yeah, well, the thing, I'm not really sure if I liked Hugo Weaving's portrayal of Red Skull. Not that it was bad, it's just it didn't feel menacing enough to me, and I was just a little away by it.
You weren't blown away by it?
No, but I'll get some more in detail when I do the full review.
Okay.
So yeah,
we saw this opening night, so everyone was laughing. It's something.
Oh, it was very humorous.
See a movie and no one else has seen it before. Everything surprises them. Everything is supposed to be, you know, you don't get anyone that's already seen it. So I think the characters and everything is done well.
I think Chris Evans really pulled off Captain America.
You really believe that he's a really strong person at first before this procedure happens.
But even though he goes from the real skinny guy to the big guy, it doesn't feel that much of a difference in the character. It still feels like the same character, not just here's him as a little guy, here's him as a big guy, two different characters. It still felt the same. Right. So yeah, I will probably now hand mine over to myself and I'll do the full review. But we both came in out of this, really enjoyed it. Lazy to 99. I am a Batman fan, and I'm a Canadian man. I do top 10 lists, tonight ketchup chips. So I just got back from watching Captain America, as you just saw. So as I said, I think this is the best superhero movie of the year. Not that it doesn't have its fair share of problems, but out of all of them I've seen, I think this is probably the most enjoyable. See, the first thing that you gotta realize is I'm not a Captain America fan. I mean, seriously, guys, I'm a Canadian. I'm a Canadian, so I'm not that big of a Captain America fan. Not that Canadians hate Americans, but, you know, Americans don't care two bits about Canadians, so why should we care about Americans? Now, anyway, the thing is, you know, it's harder to get into a character that's all about this other country that's not your own. However, that wasn't a problem for me. I want to go right off the bat and saying this film was either going to make or break on the shoulders of Chris Evans. And this movie was made because of him. See, we all know that Chris Evans played the Human Torch. And we all know that he's played a bunch of other characters in comic book stuff. We all know that they're more of the comic relief characters. But in this, you know what? About halfway through, I forgot it was Chris Evans. I didn't think, oh, you know what? There he's doing something similar to Fantastic Four. I just forgot that it was Chris Evans entirely. I just accepted that it was Captain America. Like, there was a point where I'm like, oh, what is Captain America doing? But it was like, what is Captain America doing? Not, what is Chris Evans doing with Captain America? I fully accepted him as Captain America. See, so the story's plot is very similar to that in the comics. We have Steve Rogers, who's trying to join the army, and he won't because he's extremely skinny and extremely not healthy. However, the scientist sees him and sees his good heart, and therefore gives him a chance to be the super soldier, puts him through a test, and he's picked to be the first super soldier. And after he's made, the scientist is killed, and by an agent of Hydra, who is in this a branch off of the Nazis. It's not part. It's working for the Nazis, but they're in a very specific area. However, the leader of Hydra has a humongous plan of his own that is going to encompass both the entire world, including the Nazis itself. So as I say, I really like Chris Evans in here. The thing that I was afraid that was going to happen was he's going to act this way when he's small Rogers. Then when he's big Rogers, he's going to act. It's not going to feel like the same character. It's going to feel like here's small Rogers, kind of sad and moody. And then now we're at the big Captain America! Come on, troops, let's move! But no, it felt like it was... This guy, even though he's like this little shrimp of a man, he still always stood up for the little guy. Even though he is the little guy. There's a part in it where he's watching a movie, and you know how in the movie they had the news and they talked about the war back then. There's a guy saying, "Oh, come on, get to the movie already!" He says, "Hey, have a little respect." And then the guy keeps on yelling, "Come on, skip this crap!" And he says, "Hey, shut up!" And this guy gets up, and he's, of course, a much bigger guy than he is, takes him out in the alley and beats him up. But he doesn't back down. He doesn't run. And you really, it doesn't feel like a complete character change. It seems like his character goes through his change, but the character itself is still there. And, yeah, I really liked Chris Evans' performance of this. You know, I thought that I was just going to see the Human Torch as Captain America. But no, it's not. I really forgot all about his previous roles and just accepted him for Captain America. Now, as I said, I kind of have a little bit of a problem with the Red Skull. Not too much of a problem. It's not like, oh my gosh, his character is so horrible. But I didn't find him menacing enough. And when they tried to make him menacing, it was like cliched. I mean, like, they have Captain America raid this facility, and this guy comes up and he's like, "I'm sorry, we fought to the last man." And he's like, "Apparently not." And I don't know, maybe it's just I didn't buy Hugo Weaving's Nazi accent. Maybe that was it. It just didn't feel like it was a right fit. And I think... maybe I think his head is, the actual Red Skull was a little bit too bright. Maybe it should have been like a darker red. But I just think he should have been able to do more as a villain. Not have this big plot and Captain America has to stop, he has this big evil scheme and Captain America has to try to stop it. But what if he fulfilled some of his objectives? You know, what if he actually... It just seemed to be more Captain America's attacking him, and he's not really fighting back or getting his own licks in. You know, so I wish it felt that his character was stronger than Captain America. They both seem equally strong, but it would have been more if he was portrayed that he was a stronger character than Captain America. Now, one of the things I really like this film for doing also is the side characters. The side characters don't feel like they're just thrown in there. They feel like they're actually giving a little bit, not all of them, but they're actually giving some depth. Bucky is not a kid sidekick in this, which obviously I think is the right move, because if it put him in a kid sidekick, he would have been about the same size as Steve Rogers when he wanted to join the war as his normal, so I don't know, it wouldn't have made sense. It would have felt a little off. It would have felt way off, actually. Bucky is actually someone around Steve Rogers' age, and he's and they're friends. I wish I would explain more if they were friends, because I think other people watching this probably think that they're brothers. But I wish it was more of why they're friends and how they became friends with each other. And he has a bunch of character depth to him too, and how they handle him is really well, and how they handle Captain America's other soldier comrades is also really well done. They're not giving too much screen time, but they don't need to be. They're just side characters, but they're given enough to make them interesting, and you wonder about them. Now, this film gets the humor right. It's not Captain America cracking wise, but it's very humorous, and the humor really adds to the film. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is where the scientist and the general, who is played by Tommy Lee Jones, who's made up for his time in his previous superhero film. Tommy Lee Jones, at least you did well in this one. Anyway, they're talking, and the general doesn't get why he wants Steve Rogers to be the first to try out the serum, when these other soldiers have qualified all the other tests, all the other running tests and strength tests, and they've already qualified for them before. But and so why is he all about this skinny wimp? And he's like, what about this guy? He's good. And the scientist says, he's a bully. And he says, you don't win this war by being nice. I need men who have guts. And he grabs a grenade and he throws it on the ground where all the men are doing their exercises. And he yells, grenade! And everybody else runs. And Steve Rogers jumps on it. And the scientist then looks at Tommy Lee Jones, and Tommy Lee Jones says, why are you still skinny? I mean, you see, stuff like that, the humor really adds to the story, and adds to the character and how he reacts and stuff like that. So, and there's a lot of scenes like that, where you just smile and it makes you like the character more. Well, another scene that I like is also during the training part, where the soldiers are running for miles, and he says to the soldiers, I want you, there's the American flag way up in that pole. The first one who grabs it gets a ride back in the truck. And then all the soldiers try to climb up the pole, but it's too slippery and it's too wet. And he says, no one has ever gotten that flag in 17 years. And then they all give up, so they all start to continue to walk. And Steve Rogers walks up to it, pulls out the bolt, pushes it over, and it falls on the ground. And he grabs it and says, thank you, General. Thank you, Sergeant. You're just like, why didn't anybody think of that before? And, it helps add to his character in a good way. Now, for the other things that I didn't really like, the final act felt a little rushed to me. For some reason, these Marvel movies are really having trouble on their final conflict battle. Because the final battle between Captain America and Red Skull, it's not that great of a battle. I would have appreciated if there was more strength in there, and it felt the punches that they threw had more weight to them. But yeah, and then the way Steve Rogers gets frozen feels a little contrived. I mean, okay, I just want to, I don't want to go too much into it, but he crashes his ship down into the Arctic. It's amazing that nobody ever found that ship till nowadays, and that nobody, and it's just convenient conditions that he had to, if you've seen it, I don't want to give anything away. But it feels a little too convenient where, I don't know, I just think that what they did that way because they wanted to have the final talk with him and the girl, and I want to talk about that in a second, but I just think it could have been done in a better way, like the way they did it in Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. That was a good way. They didn't feel as contrived as this one did. But not that they needed to do it that way, but in a different way would probably have been better. Now, I just want to talk quickly on the girl, the female, the female of the movie. Now, the girl, the love interest, is actually pretty well done. I like it because it's not where they say, "I love you," and "I love you." Anyway, it's not like that. They both start to have feelings for each other, but it's not love, they didn't go on a date. They just start to really care about one another. And actually it feels, and it was important that they had a little bit of a moment before he became Captain America. And they do, because if they didn't have that, you might say, well, she's only attracted to him because now he's big and muscular Captain America. But no, they have a moment before that. And that's good. And the only thing that I didn't like, they have a kind of a cliched scene where this other girl who sees that he's Captain America kisses him, and she walks in on it. And he's like, "Whoa, wait, you got the wrong idea." That I felt was a little cliched, and but the thing is, they don't harp on it. She doesn't harp. He was kissing another girl. No, she's actually a tough and interesting character, and she gets a little pissed, but she handles it in a different way. She fires a gun at the vibranium shield, which I wasn't crazy about that scene in the trailer, but seeing it in context now, it kind of makes more sense. Nevertheless, besides the final conflict, the action scenes are really good. I was worried that they'd feel more like a video game with a part where they have the two guys with flamethrowers go and he's in the middle. I'm like, oh, come on. That feels like a video game. How are you going to get out of this one? I'm like in the theater, tap A, tap the A button. No, it's, the action is really well integrated and really well done. The suit. I want to talk about the suits. This suit, even though sometimes in the pictures it looks a little like lame, it actually works for the most part in this. There are some shots where it looks a little like, really? That's the suit? But in the whole context of the movie, it works. And the way... I love how this movie sometimes even pokes fun of its own comic book history. Like, Captain America, early on, actually doesn't get to go to war. The general says, I wanted a whole army of super soldiers. One soldier isn't going to do me any good. So he doesn't even allow him to go overseas. And so, what does he do? He ends up being a mascot, and he does stage shows, and he, sings songs and does all this stuff so people can, cheer and buy war bonds and stuff. And, and he makes films about him, so he's a cultural icon. And I love the part where they have a part where Hitler's a guy dressed up as Hitler is behind the dancers, and he's coming to get the jump on Captain America, and Captain America turns and punches him. Of course, the fist's not even near him. But it pays reverence to the very first Captain America book, the very first one being him punching Hitler in the face. So, and that issue, they actually have pictures of, it shows kids reading that comic book, which is kind of odd if you think about it. But still, it pokes fun a little bit at its own history, and then later on, where no one's taking him seriously, he has to prove to everyone else and to himself that he's actually can do this. And he goes on a solo mission, a risky mission, mind you, and everything works. And he risks his lives and saves a whole bunch of people because of his risk and his bravery. One of the other things I didn't like is, okay, so the Red Skull is getting this power that he's using for these laser guns. Lasers? Anyway, these power from this artifact that's from Asgard. And there's even a scene where the artifact gets raptured and you see the cloud sky in the Rainbow Bridge area, and and I don't know. I don't really want Thor stuff to be in a Captain America movie. It's not that big of a deal. It's the means to an end for the Red Skull to get this more advanced weaponry, but this should have been a movie that totally felt like it was on its own in a World War II setting. Where I don't know, it's just a little thing, but yeah. But overall, I think that Captain America is probably the best superhero movie of the year. It's definitely worth your watch, and that's coming from a Canadian. So I'm going to give Captain America an 8 out of 10. So thanks for watching, guys. Remember, I'm LazyDude99, and if I don't like it, it's not worth it. See you around.
Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more coming soon.